David occasionally starts with a cute joke, and I found one, so I'm not the best at jokes, but here we go. A father and his son went fishing one day, and after a couple of hours in the boat, the little boy said, "Dad, how does this boat float?" And the dad said, "Well, son, I just don't know." So they kept fishing for a little while, and you could tell the little boy was in contemplation. He said, "Dad, how do fish breathe underwater?" And the dad said, "Son, I just don't know." And a little bit later, the son said, "Dad, why is the sky blue?" And the father pondered a moment. He said, "Son, I just don't know." And worried he was going to annoy his dad, he said, "Dad, do you mind me asking all these questions?" He said, "Of course not, son. If you don't ask questions, how will you get answers?" And I think that's what David's classes and his Sunday services do for me. They answer a lot of questions that I don't know. I remember many years ago, I was, let me start off with saying, when I know I'm going to do a message, my mind is so full of things that I could talk about, because you all know I can talk. But I had everything going in my mind, okay, what to do. And then I remembered a lesson that I had learned many, many years ago when I was working at what was then Wachovia Bank, so we know how long ago this was. And I had a concern at work, and I was just going kind of crazy. So I went to my friend who happened to be head of personnel, which is now called human resources. Again, that tells you how long ago this was. And I said, "I just got to tell you this stuff, Rick." And I sat down and I just started telling everything. He said, "Just wait a minute." He said, he didn't let me go on very long. He said, "I'm going to give you an assignment. You are to go home and you are to write down all the thoughts that are going on in your mind, because when you do, you're making them tangible. And they won't just be going around in your mind, you will get something solid." Well, I did that. And it was the most amazing thing, because when I got those things written down, I realized there weren't a whole lot of things. It really compiled into one, and I was the answer. And so ever since then, when I've had lots of things going on in my mind, I write things down and I see what comes out. So I was writing all these things down, and then it occurred to me, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. And I said, these other things can just wait till another time. So I'm going to talk about love and acceptance, because I think those are things we can talk about on Valentine's Day, or the month of February, because the month of February is known as the month of love. But love isn't just about Valentine's Day. Love is also about self-love and self-acceptance. It's about a lot of things. So if you don't have a Valentine to receive a gift from, or a Valentine to give a gift to, just do something for yourself and love yourself, because you're the best Valentine you'll ever have. I will tell you that Valentine's Day itself is very special to me, because on 2/14/1968, 54 years ago tomorrow, my engagement picture was announced in the Burlington paper. And so Valentine's Day has always been a very special day, and it was to my husband. And we always celebrated it as when we were going to get married, and we got married in June. But I know that Valentine's Day is not always easy. So we're going to talk about love and acceptance, but I'm going to start with love. I can speak as a great authority on love, because I have loved deeply. I still love. I have been loved. I am still loved. And because of love, we can face life's challenges. I'm sure all of us have had challenges, but I'm going to tell you about one of my best loves, and that's my little dog. Louise knows my little dog, Dolly. If you have an animal, you know that there's total love and acceptance. You can do no wrong. You walk in the door and they're as happy to see you after you've been gone 5 minutes as after you've been gone a day. They're always happy to see you. So they fill you with this love that goes over everything. And my dog loves everybody. She doesn't care about dogs, but she loves every person, and they've all come to see her. You can attest to that. Love involves care, closeness, protectiveness, attraction, affection, and trust. If you love somebody and they love you, you want to be able to trust them. You do want to protect them. You do want this closeness. I don't care if it's a friend or a spouse, it makes no difference. If there's love there, you want these things. How many of us, and you can raise your hand, remember your first infatuation? Now, that first infatuation could still be with you, mine's not, and I'm really glad because I ended up with much better than my first infatuation. But you do remember that first infatuation. Yeah, I do. Okay. Love is associated with a lot of positive emotions: excitement, contentment, satisfaction, even euphoria. But it also can have negative emotions with it, like jealousy, stress, anger, because it is really hard to always be loving. It is hard. That doesn't mean you don't love the person. It just means they're hard to love at times. And it can be hard. Long-term love can be difficult. How many in here have been married, let's say, over 10 years? Okay. Okay, if you've gone into a long-term commitment, and I was in a long-term commitment, there are good days and there's some not so good days. I call it the hum, and then it goes, but it's the hum of life, and we have a hum here. It just spoke at the right time. Divine order. But it can be hard. But that doesn't mean that it goes away. It just means that you've moved into a more contented phase of the love. It might not be the intense love that you had at the very beginning, and that's okay. That love is still there. But there is a difference. Being in a committed relationship, and this can be a friend-committed relationship. It doesn't have to be a spouse or a companion or that. But it takes commitment. It takes some work and dedication. In fact, it takes a lot, but it's worth it. Because once you have that love, you're a better person, and you're a better person for giving that love. There is also something called tough love. This is often referred to generally with children who have not followed the rules, or they've broken rules, or they've not told the truth, etc., etc. And the tough love goes into mandating responsibilities. I'll be honest with you, when I first heard about tough love as a child, I thought it was pure abuse. Emotional, psychological, everything abuse. But as I got older, I realized that tough love is sometimes very necessary. I am extremely grateful that as a child and a parent, I never had to go through tough love. But I've known many people who have, and it is not easy. But the interesting thing about tough love is you don't stop loving somebody because it's tough. You just want the best for them because you love them. And they do love you back in return. Sometimes it's just really hard. I've actually seen relationships improve when tough love has been, experienced. And it's not easy for the person receiving or the person giving. It is not. But you can be in love and love someone and survive life's ups and downs. Before I moved to Gibsonville, I was a wedding officiant for about 6 years, and I loved working with the couples developing their wedding ceremonies. And they were always funny. Yeah, they really were. One of the things that I would do was give them a questionnaire before I would meet with them, asking them a lot of questions, and then we'd get together and talk so I could develop the service. And it was always interesting. There were certain things that I really liked to include in the services because they were specific to the couple, but they are also specific to everybody who loves. One of the things, though, was how liking someone is just as important as loving someone. There were times with Steve that I liked him a lot, I loved him a lot, and I liked him, but there were other times that I liked him more than I loved him, quite frankly. And I think we all feel that way, but when you can like the person you're with, and this is a friend, pet, I don't care who it is, when you can like them as well as love them, it's a win-win for everybody. Because you're spending a lot of time with that person, and you have to like them. But one of the things that it was really consistent was, and so many couples what they would tell me is they were happy and comfortable together. That's big. They said they could laugh easily. That's big. And they could be themselves without fear of receiving judgment from the other. Think how big that is. We are so quick to put labels on things. David teaches us about not using labels. And we do that a lot, but when we can love somebody, laugh with somebody, and not judge that person, how much better that will be. Another thing that I would include in the majority of the weddings was a list of suggestions that I thought would make their life easier. And these were suggestions that I wove into my life, so they were suggestions. They were not mandates, but suggestions. So I'm not listing all the ones I've listed, but I'm listing the ones that I think could fit into any relationship. May you always look for the good in the other person. That's an easy thing to do. I remember Steve's grandmother used to come and stay with us, and she was a professional babysitter. She wasn't a nanny, but she would stay with people when they went on vacation. And I think a lot of times the parents went on vacation because they had to get away from their children. So Nanny was the one who took care of them. And I remember one time, one of our children asked Nanny, they said, well, what do you do when they're bad? And she said, I don't look at the bad, I look for something good in them. If I can only tell them they have pretty eyes or pretty hands, she said that changes how they act. And I thought, what wise words. So she didn't look at the unruly behavior that some of them had. She looked at what was good in them. The next thing was, may you respect each other's differences. Every one of us is unique. We do not do things alike. We don't think alike. We don't act alike. We can be similar, but we are still our unique person. And when I can respect your difference and you can respect mine, life's a lot easier. Every day, may you be grateful. Something that I do, and this is on a regular and consistent basis, is I have a gratitude journal that I write in every night. And I write at least 5 things that I'm grateful for that day. Sometimes they're repetitious, but most of the time I look for something new. But almost inevitably, I'm grateful for my friends. And my friends add so much joy to my life. Variety, fun, excitement. So I'm grateful, and you can be too. May you choose to love even when you feel unloving. How many times have those of us who have worked, and I'm speaking for myself, have come home from work and just been in a kind of a crappy mood? And I will speak for myself. My husband would have been home all day by himself, and he was ready to talk when I came in. And I was ready to not talk when I came in. And I'd say, give me 5 minutes to change gears. And I'd change my gear, and then everything would be fine. But what I did was actually change from not feeling so loving to being loving. Because he had been alone all day, and he needed company. And so I could change my gear. May you speak kindly and listen with attention. Oh, another thing I'm guilty of is talking a lot. But I do listen, and I like to listen because everybody has stories. Everybody has stories. And when you listen attentively, you learn from people, and we grow, and we get stronger, and we understand the differences, and we can appreciate that person and respect the person because we've listened attentively. May you be quick to say, I am sorry, as well as I forgive. How many times has it been hard for us to say, I'm sorry? When you know you're sorry and you know you need to be sorry, but it's so hard to say it. But once it's said, things level out because it opens the communications, and that's what is needed. May life's sorrows bring you closer together. Those of us who have lost a loved one, and a lot of us in here have, without friends and family, it would be almost impossible to make it through. But they're there for you in the sorrow, and you're closer together and loved more. May troubles strengthen your commitment. I'm just going to say in general, I know of a lot of couples who don't make it. And they don't make it because they are not committed to the relationship. If trouble comes up in life, it's a lot easier to walk away than it is to work through the commitment or the trouble. So that brings commitment. And the last thing is, living happily ever after is not the end of a fairy tale. It is the common purpose that all life seeks. And so we do want to live happily ever after, and we can. There are so many scriptures in the Bible about love, and they're mostly in the New Testament because the Old Testament was about law, and the New Testament is about love. And so a few that I picked out, and the first one is 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, and it really sums up everything about love. It's one of my favorites. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in imperfections, but with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. I could just stop right there because that sums it up. But John 15:13 tells us, greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And we think about our service people and how they are protecting our country and how they do lay down their lives for us on a regular and consistent basis. How our police officers, our fire officers, so many people that lay down their lives on a daily basis, the heroes in the hospitals, and the list goes on. When our hearts are filled with love, we look for and see only the best in everyone, for we see others as God sees them. Okay, love is expressed in a myriad of ways. I'm going to tell you a few ways that came quickly to me as I was getting my thoughts down. Simple acts such as speaking gently, smiling often. I have no trouble with smiling. I love to smile. I want everyone to smile. It makes you feel so much better. Encouraging others, complimenting others when you see something that needs complimenting. How often I can look at Louise. Now, you don't know Louise. She's a good friend of mine who came today to hear me speak. But she's always dressed to the hilt, and she's just always gorgeous. And I think I tell you every time how beautiful you are, because you are. But when you notice something, say it. Keeping a compliment inside doesn't do me a bit of good, but it can make another person's day for being recognized. So I believe in compliments. Hugging someone if appropriate. I added the if appropriate because some people don't want to be hugged. So you have to be cautious with that. But a good hug, and we're huggers here, that's a good thing, and I like it. Preparing food for someone who is recovering, someone who's grieving, someone who is homebound. That's a very wonderful, loving gesture. I'm going to give some examples here. Ta-da! These two fellas, and Jennifer, you too when you're here, and David when he's here. What they give to us is pure love, beautiful music, wonderful meditations, being here on a consistent basis. You are love right up here front, and we thank you for that. I look at Jackie Watts, who works so hard in our garden to keep it beautiful. She's out here mostly in good weather, but she's out here so often. And we have a memorial garden in her name, and she gives love by working in the garden. I think of the board members, and I think most of the board members are in here today, that you give yourself and your time and your expertise to keep the center running. And we thank you for that too. And last, and certainly this is not last. The person I want to recognize right now sits back in that corner, Tim. I don't know if all of you understand all the things that Tim does. I'm going to list a few of them because I want you to be aware. He handles the audiovisual for every church service, every Wednesday, every special event, whatever it is. Tim's back there in that corner taking care of everything with that. He handles the financials for the center, gets the bills paid, collects the money. He just takes care of the financials. Now that we've opened the center for events, he's handling all of that. And that takes a lot of time. When I was here Wednesday a week ago, he was showing space to someone at that time, and it takes a lot of time, and then he has to get it set up if they want it. He takes care of all that. He prepares and distributes the weekly newsletter, keeps up with Constant Contact, which is the email list that he sends to. He prepares the slides for presentations. He handles the majority of the repairs. He and Rick DeVere built the bridge, and Tim built the steps that go down to the ground level. With Rick, okay. And now with Deborah not here, he's doing the cleaning, folks. I mean, and I'm sure I've overlooked some things, but he does so much, and I want you to understand he gets no compensation for any of this. That is love demonstrated. And if we want to help the center and help Tim, those who can need to step up and help Tim with the cleaning, if only the cleaning. But anything that we can step forward, that is love in action. When you get up and do something because you love a place and you love a person. So I just want to remind you of that. And the last person I'll mention, and I do want to recognize Karen because she helps with the videos, and we thank you for that, and the slides, and we thank you for that, yes. And Bonnie and Johnny, we thank you for always receiving the offering and for greeting. Thank you for that. But everybody here does a lot. And Kathy, your prayers, they're beautiful. And Rhonda, I know now that you're helping with Soma Energetics, and you come from Salisbury, for heaven's sakes, so thank you for what you're doing. And okay. And now he was my last one. So David, if you're listening, and I hope you are, I want you to know how much you are loved by everybody here, including me. Yes! When I was preparing this lesson, I realized how much time, effort, energy, intelligence goes into putting together a weekly message, a weekly class. It's rather amazing. And his mind, oh my goodness, his mind. It is so full of wisdom and information that it's just spilling out of him. And he loves us. He wants to share his wisdom and his talents and his joy with life. And we are just so humbled to have him as our spiritual leader and director. So thank you, David. We love you. Another way is to observe the love of nature. Do you realize that every plant, every tree, every mountain, every brook, every river, every ocean, every was created by God? And we get to love it and enjoy it and appreciate it. So ultimately, as I see it, love is a strong acceptance of something or someone. Some things will challenge our values, but if we learn to accept what is without needing to approve of it, we can at least not add more suffering to our life. Unconditional love, that's a good one. It requires unconditional acceptance. We can, however, love a person or something unconditionally without having a relationship with it. We can love the fact that we live in the United States. And we can have a relationship with it, but it's on a very small scale. But we can love things without having a relationship with them. Sometimes acceptance is understanding that a person is not going to change, but loving them anyway. And sometimes it means stepping away for our well-being, but we can still love them. Unconditional love and acceptance from our parents and caregivers from our early lives had such a huge impact on who we are today. David talks in one of his classes about the Root Chakra, the tribe, all the things that we learned up to about 7 years of age that will be with us all of our lives. And how we can change them, but they're always there and they're going to sneak up on us every now and then. Okay. Acceptance is the ability to see that others have a right to be their own unique person. That means having a right to their own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Remember this, folks, the only person we can change is ourselves. I can't change a one of you. David can plant seeds, I can plant a seed, these wonderful musicians can plant seeds, but the only person that can change is ourselves. I was just talking to Beth a minute ago, and she was talking about how she wasn't always the sweet and happy person she is now. And Michael's agreeing. But Beth made a conscious effort at some point to become happy. And we can change. Those root things stay with us. But I'm going to use y'all as an example. Michael continued to love her even when she wasn't exactly happy, but you love her more now. Again, but it's loving unconditionally. 1 Peter 4:8 says, most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, for love makes up for many of your faults. Yes. I like the Mirror Bible that David talks about a lot, and I liked Ephesians 4:32, and this is from the Mirror Bible, which is different than other Bibles. Be inspired by kindness and compassion. You're forgiving one another. When you feel irritated and frustrated, demonstrates the way God graciously treated us as in Christ. In Acts 20:35, Jesus tells us, it is more blessed to give than to receive. We have to remember that everything Jesus did as our way shower, he taught us love and kindness. Everything. What an example he set for us. And we just have to follow it. Okay, I've got to hurry. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little story and then I'll be almost through. Some people are really hard to love. And, but it might mean that you have to love them differently. Years ago, okay, my husband had a cousin that had a lot of problems. And Steve and I were her only family. And I won't go into all the issues that his cousin went through, but I'll just sort of sum it up with drugs. And it finally got to the point, and she was 18 months older than I. It finally got to the point where she was mentally in a bad way because her brain had been more or less fried. And she needed a power of attorney, and she needed an advocate. And Steve and I were approached about this. Well, this is when Steve's health was beginning to decline, and there was no way he could do it. And I'll just be honest with you, I told the social worker that I couldn't do it because of Steve's health, but I also just did not want to do it, period. My husband was a sweet and kind person, and I'm sorry that the majority of you didn't get to know him. But this troubled him so badly because she really had no one, and she was going to have to go into the system as such. And he didn't sleep, I think, for a week, and it was a bad time. And I was dug in. I wasn't going to do this. And one morning I woke up because God hit me with a 2x4. And what I woke up with is the golden rule. Do unto, her name was Gail, do unto Gail as I would want someone to do unto me. I told my husband that I had changed my mind and I was going to agree to be her power of attorney, and he literally cried. And Steve was not a crier, but it was such a relief. And it was a relief for me too, because I had given up that anger, that wanting to change her, determination. But again, I was the one who had to change. So I became her power of attorney, and that was for 6 years. And I'm not telling you things were easy. They were not. But I don't think she ever realized how difficult it was. Again, she was like a child. And I got her into an assisted living facility, and I would visit her every week, and I'd take her out for ice cream and buy her clothes, and I kept her room decorated. I mean, she was loved, and she thrived in that environment up until June of 2020, after COVID had hit, and they were isolated, and she died from failure to thrive. She had other health issues too, but failure to thrive was the thing. And it goes back to being deprived of love, because we thrive much better when we are loved. Gail also did not know when Steve died. She just couldn't understand it. She adored him, and she thought he was her brother. And I just let her think it. It was a lot easier. But I learned such a lesson. And I honor my husband for this, because he's the one who taught me the lesson. He never fussed at me. He never said, you need to do this, you need to do this. But over the years that I was her power of attorney, he thanked me so many times. And it was appreciation and acceptance. And I learned to love her in a way. I can look back and know that I was not the kindest person. I was human, but I learned lessons from that. So I encourage everyone to simply love. Look for the best in everyone, even if it is hard. Accept everyone knowing they are likely doing the best they can do with what they have at the time, even if you do not agree. Loving does not mean condoning, but you can still love. It is easy for me to say, I love you to everyone here because I truly do. You all are dear to me and hold a special place in my heart. So may you have a happy Valentine's Day tomorrow, and may God bless each of you with the knowledge that God, Christ consciousness, Spirit, the all that is, Source, loves you beyond belief. One more thing before I close about acceptance. Whoever watches the Super Bowl today, I want you to accept whoever wins. So may God continue to richly bless you all, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you today.
Time to let your heart light shine. Time to let your heart light